Global pandemic to major changes within the royal family. This has been an eventful year.
It certainly has. So today we are looking back at the top 5 news stories of 2021.
Yeah, the Your Morning team has carefully selected the stories that dominated the news cycle and really had Canadians talking.
And we are revealing them to you now. So Anne-Marie, what's up first?
All right. We have talked about this every single day. We've picked the COVID-19 pandemic.
This variant has a large number of mutations.
We actually don't know how this behaves, for lack of a better word, in real-world settings.
It's drastic and dire. We're overflowing in our hospitals.
It has been the year of vaccines and variants. We chose this because of the undeniable mark COVID-19 has left. In November, the worldwide death toll surpassed 5 million people.
We are on track to having everyone vaccinated who wants it by the end of summer.
Canada had a bumpy beginning to the vaccine rollout due to supply issues, but now more than 76% of eligible adults have received 2 doses. However, 2 variants of concern, Delta and Omicron, have now been identified.
Well, the pandemic, of course, is going to continue on into this next year, and the focus will be on vaccines for kids, 3rd doses, and how the variants, including Omicron, affect Canadians. And we're also going to be monitoring, Lindsey, the efficacy of vaccines over time. All right, continuing on with our top stories of this year. This next story is affecting us all and in all seasons. We have chosen climate change.
Hopefully the house is still standing when we come back.
We need to help communities be more resilient against the impacts of climate change.
It's tremendously sad here. There's a lot of destruction at the flood.
It was a dominant headline during the devastating weather events Canada experienced this year. The country had one of its busiest wildfire seasons ever, and BC is still dealing with the aftermath of a catastrophic flooding event. Scientists are now saying extreme weather that causes events like these may become more common.
Well, there has been a renewed focus on action, and we will be watching for progress on the UN climate agreement. And while almost 200 countries said they'll ramp up carbon-cutting commitments, that deal does not put the world on track to avoid warming beyond the goal of 1.5 degrees Celsius. This next topic spurred a lot of headlines. The Royals.
I thought it was quite heart-wrenching.
Racism is a really big and apparent thing. Meghan and Harry were really brave for talking about it.
It's going to fuel the flames of those who think that really the monarchy is an outdated institution.
Royal correspondents have never been busier than this year, following Meghan and Harry's Oprah interview, the death of Prince Philip, and the Queen's health.
We're very much not to
In the interview with Oprah, Harry and Meghan alleged a senior royal made a comment about their baby's potential skin tone. This deepened Harry's rift with his family, who had to gather shortly after at Prince Philip's funeral. Recently, the Queen took a break from royal duties after a hospital stay.
Well, there will be more royal revelations coming in 2022. Prince Harry is expected to release a memoir covering his life in the public eye, and we'll be watching how the palace and the tabloids react. Well, another story we followed closely throughout this year was anti-Asian racism.
Our people are getting killed for no reason.
Just overall sadness and fear and just a lot of mixed emotions.
Called her a China virus and asked her to go home to her country.
This was seen both here and abroad. In the last year, reports of discriminatory incidents in Canada tripled. This is according to a University of Toronto study. And no one can forget the tragic shooting spree in Atlanta, Georgia, that targeted Asian women. Following the shootings, mass protests against anti-Asian violence happened around the world.
Now, it is a horrifying story, but not an unfamiliar one. There has been a spotlight on racism in recent years, and we will be watching how the social justice movement and awareness continues into 2022. Well, this final story resonated right across the country. and that is the discovery of unmarked graves at residential schools.
No child should be ever disposed in an unmarked grave.
Children that never came home.
There was a lot of horrific things that happened to myself.
We picked this because of the awareness it brought to a dark part of Canada's history. In May, the remains of 215 children were found at a former residential school in Kamloops. Since then, more than 1,300 graves have been found at numerous sites.
It's really hard for you to talk about this, but I really need people to know and understand this.
These discoveries expose deep wounds left by the residential school system, which forcibly separated Indigenous children from their families. It is now considered a form of genocide.
Well, there are fresh demands for justice aimed at the government and at the church. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission has estimated the number of graves to be at more than 3,000. So we can expect more discoveries this next year. The Pope is also expected to visit Canada in the coming year. And in December, the government promised to hand over all documents relating to Indian residential schools. So interesting to look back. That is it for our look back on the top stories of the year.
We're going to post the full list on our social media pages.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked this, be sure to subscribe here, or you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.